you're supposed to be, when you're supposed to be there, doing what you're supposed to do with perfect effort. So all those guys did those things, so I was very pleased with the day.
Morning, Coach. Can you see us?
Yeah, barely. They're small, but I can see you.
Just wanted to, it's been 8-9 months since you got this job, and it's been such a whirlwind. You lose spring ball, all these different things. For you, how much patience have you had to practice to finally get to this moment today and see these guys face to face and get to work?
No doubt. I'm a human too, so I had my moments there occasionally, and I explained to the kids. I mean, if I didn't get ice cream for about 6 months and I finally got it, I'd be really glad to get it. And that's how we were with walkthroughs. And then we did about 12 of those walkthroughs, and I'd eaten ice cream every day for 12 days. And I challenged the kids. I mean, have we already forgotten how grateful we are to be here? I don't want to be that way on day one. And they were fantastic today. You could tell they were eating a new fresh bowl of ice cream today. So they went hard, and I was proud of them.
And a quick second question. I know you mentioned the other day that Dr. Campos working really hard on getting you guys a 12-game schedule. Is there anything you can do as a head coach working your Rolodex to try to find some people to play?
I've got buddies and all that, but we're just not the ones that make those decisions. We do help. We pass along numbers. We pass along information to Dr. Campos, and she takes those numbers, and if she doesn't already have them, she'll respond. But most of the time, those guys are already in contact with each other.
Great. Thank you.
All right, Hector, you're up. Greg, you're on deck.
Hey, Coach. Good morning.
Good morning, Hector.
Just given the circumstances and the guidelines that you guys have to follow and health and safety concerns, can you walk us through, I guess, in layman's terms, how different today was from a traditional, what your traditional kickoff of camp would look like? What was different today?
Well, if you could just visualize, at 6:30 in the morning, our offensive guys, because of 50% capacity, we were meeting in the building, and the defensive guys were getting temp checked and getting taped. So we never had any where we were violating social distancing practices. So it doubles up your time. So then you go to practice, and obviously we didn't have a team meeting. We did our team meeting on the field. So we've got 6 feet of social distancing on the football field. Water. I mean, everyone has their own water. No one, we don't ever go anywhere near anybody else's water. It's just it's an extremely different way to be about life. During our breaks, you're way apart. I'm not encouraging a break ever. We're forever. Everybody likes to bring it up and get tight and break on whatever you're going to break on. We're trying to practice social distancing to keep everybody away from each other. Right now, we can't have very many kids in the locker room at a time. So we've got a third of the kids in the whirlpool with their mask on. We have a third of the kids getting recovery with the strength staff with mask on, and we have a third of the kids in the locker room. So we're rotating in thirds to make sure we never have groups where we're violating social distancing procedures. Lunch, it's going to be the exact same way. Weights, everything's split up. So you can imagine, as prudent as we're trying to be on time, everything's just a little bit longer because we're having to go in thirds or halves at all times.
The natural follow-up to that, Coach, is how exhausting that must be with the task at hand already in front of you, and now you've got this added. I know you've been dealing with this for a couple of months, but to actually get into it in a practice setting, I imagine it's got to be extremely exhausting and something that just takes a lot in addition to what you're trying to accomplish.
Well, Dan Bellamy, Nick Turner, Kevin Brown, Ryan Philo, those guys have been fantastic. Our equipment people, Tyler, Bernard, those guys have carried a lot of that burden for me and have done a great job planning. And I'm sure we could be better. We're going to meet as a staff at 2 and review all of it. We've been very open with our players. Anything that they don't feel comfortable with at all, we want to know about it, and we want to do a better job. Because we want those guys to feel really good about being here. And so that's the way it's rolled. And I've got a lot of help. But you're right. It's just more stuff. But here's why it's fair. Every coach in the country is dealing with this, and whichever staff deals with the best, their players will have the greatest chance of being successful.
And one more, Coach, if I can. It's actually related to Chase's question from a little while ago. the uncertainty as to whether the 10 games and the 12 games, is there a date, Coach, that you guys have set as a program? If we don't have a new season opener, if you will, whatever the LSU game that weekend, if we don't have it by this date, then there will be no game on that particular weekend.
Dr. Compost does a good job of staying in touch with me. The one that would concern me the most is somehow a game popped up on August the 29th. That's what would really change things for us. But right now we're going as if we're playing a make-believe opponent on September 5th. Because in the end of the day, you're always playing yourself anyway. And we've got so much base install to do right now, Hector. I'm not that worried about, scheming for a certain team right now. We still got to just learn what we do. So after this week, Hector, for me as a coach, after that first scrimmage, which will be next Saturday, that's when I would need to know some closure to prepare my team. And I'm sure by then Dr. Compost will have a solid answer for us.
Thank you, Coach.
Okay, Greg, you're up. JJ, you're on deck.
Jeff, how's it going?
What's up, brother? How are you?
Good. We're going to talk to Rashad Wisdom here in a minute. I wanted to ask you, what has he meant to your team and what role has he taken from a leadership perspective so far?
He's always been that way. He's just unique. He played a great program, so he's been taught the right stuff his entire life. So he knows how to lead. We talk about it all the time around here. To be a great leader, there's a couple of components that are very important. You've got to want to lead, first of all. A lot of guys just don't want to do it. They'd rather just be in the back and follow, and that's okay. But you got to be able to communicate very well. And Rashad does a very good job of communicating. So think about that. He's got a history of leading. He came from a great program. He's a great communicator, and he wants to do well. And, the circumstances he's been through with his family. He's got unbelievable parents. So, Richard and Diana have done a great job teaching him. I heard Sean speak now, so they communicate very well in that family. And Rashad brings that. And every day, he's the epitome of what our program's built upon. And that's just who Rashad Wisdom is.
How about between the lines? What role do you see him taking in this defense, whether it's like a hybrid linebacker, more of a true defensive back? Where does he fit in?
He could do either one. He could be a boundary safety or a nickel. We're going to play our best 11 kids, and we don't know who those best 11 are, but he gives us great flexibility because we know we could play with the nickel or the boundary, and that'll help us get our best 11 out there.
Okay, JJ, you're up. Steven, you're on deck.
Coach, I got to ask you about the quarterbacks. I know it's going to be the question kind of the next few weeks. Well, what did you see out of those guys today?
Well, we split team and we split up scale just so we could get 4 groups going. So we got high volume of reps today. And, just what I expected to see. We're in pajamas, so you still can't really tell a lot. They're getting a much greater grasp of the offense. Their throws are a lot more on time. Their progression reads with their feet are timing out a lot better. So about what I expected. They put in a lot of work on their walks, but we're going to try to keep split field as long as we can keep the depth to do that, because it sounds great for the quarterbacks, but that means you got to have 4 deep at corner, 4 deep at safety, 4 deep at slot, 4 deep at wide receiver, 4 deep at tight end, and that's a lot of kids. It requires to keep 4 teams rolling at the same time, but we pulled it off today.
You mentioned on Wednesday that the team would come together for 2 periods. Kind of, what was that session like? And I guess, what have you seen from your defense?
They reflect Coach Nix's personality. They're tough, they're physical, they run the football, and they play with an attitude. They look like Tyrone Nix looks. I mean, that's who he is, and that's who they are, and that's why I hired him.
Thanks, Coach.
Hey, Coach, how's it going?
Doing great, man. I'm still undefeated, so it's all good.
The kind of getting back on the schedule with the way, who knows how things are going to look in another month or so. But as of now, the home debut would be September 26th against Memphis. What are your thoughts on, maybe your first game being in front of an empty stadium?
I hadn't really thought about it, honestly. I haven't even gone there, and I don't. We can speculate on a lot of stuff. I don't give it much time, honestly. And I do tease my players all the time that they called me right now and wanted to play a pickup game in the front yard. As long as they let me be all-time quarterback, I'd show up and play. I wouldn't care who's out there. And if you really love to play football, obviously the fans make it more fun. But you guys all know we still all go play a pickup game of basketball, wiffle ball, tennis, golf. There's nobody out there watching us. When you love the game, you love the game. And our kids practicing their tails off today. There wasn't one person watching us. So we'll be fine.
Thank you, Coach.
Okay, we got time for one more question, then we'll get Coach Nix in here. If anybody has a question, raise your hand. All right. We'll let Coach Traylor go.
Thank y'all very much. Appreciate y'all.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, Coach, this is Coach Tyrone Nix, our defensive coordinator and linebackers coach. Chase, you're up for the first question, and then raise your hand if you've got a question, guys.
Hey, good morning, Coach Nix.
Good morning.
First day out, I know that, it's been a long time to get to this point. Since we chatted with you before spring ball, which was ultimately canceled, who are some guys that in your Zoom meetings and those sorts of things have stuck out to you on your side of the ball that have really taken this offseason, as unconventional as it is, and done something with it?
Coach Traylor set the table for us to win one day at a time. And it started with our defensive staff, with Coach Jeff Traylor and Rod Wright, Nick Brown, Zach Brown. These guys done a great job of keeping their guys focused, and not only that, but challenging them to learn everything about the game that they possibly could without physically going out there. And the mental part of where we're at right now is really further ahead than I've been in a lot of places at this point in time.
Yeah, and seeing your SEC background and some of the guys that you've coached in the past, we're going to speak with Solomon Wise in a little bit. Does he remind you of any, his talent level, his size, and those sorts of things remind you of any of the guys that you coached?
Solo is a special athlete. He has a ton of ability. The thing that we're trying to do is get him comfortable to the new position in our defensive scheme of a 3-4 alignment, where he's more of a hybrid guy, where he can be involved in coverage as well as rushing the passer. And he has a tremendous skill set. The thing that we got to continue to do with him is create some consistency and create the standard that we're looking for out of him, because we really think he can be a game changer.
Excellent. Thank you, Coach.
Hey, Greg, you're up.
Coach, how has the team taken to that new defense that you guys are installing, that 3-4 look? How much have they picked up so far?
We've got a pretty good amount installed for our first practice. I told the guys today that I was really proud of the way that they've adapted to things. And, once again, that goes back to the coaching staff. Those guys taking the system and implementing it to their players, teaching it at a kids level where anyone can go out and play. And ultimately, at the end of the day, it goes back to, getting off blocks, making tackles, and, playing with perfect effort. And, schemes just give you an alignment where you start to play, but those other characteristics are going to determine, the outcome majority of the time.
Has your vision for the scheme changed at all from when you got here, as you've gotten to know the players and with limited time to prepare?
The vision's still the same. That's to be the best that we can be every time we come out, to improve each day. And, just to continue to work on the culture that Coach Traylor's establishing here, from integrity to passion to, being mentally and physically tough. We just feel like if we'll become a more selfless team, a more selfless defense, that, the sky's the limit. And Probably my expectations have grown somewhat after I've seen these guys, because I think we do have enough talent to compete. We have to have some young guys come in and contribute as well, but probably the biggest scare is, we're not very deep, so we're going to have to stay injury-free.
But are you able to be as multiple as you want to be without that spring season and maybe with a little bit of a different fall schedule?
I can't tell you, because at this point they've adjusted to the things that we've thrown at them. We'll continue to throw defense until they can't handle it anymore. And then at that point in time, we'll know what's our cutoff point. But right now we're just throwing as much mud on the wall as we can and just seeing what's actually sticking and the things that they can retain and understand and the things that we'll go with.
Hey, John, you're up.
Coach, if you had to simplify what you guys are doing or simplify the terminology and things like that to get them to kind of understand at a quicker pace, or have they been able to kind of hit the ground running with what you guys are throwing at them, like you said, just throwing everything at the wall, and they're able to keep up with how you guys are trying to progress as quickly as you can for your season opener?
Well, no, sir. Obviously, we've had to simplify, but I think you do that every year when you go back and examine the things, your terminology, the way you adjust things, because the game continually changes. But probably the biggest challenge is when you're putting together a new staff. Everyone on defense, with the exception of Zach Brown, we're all new to each other. So some things they might have called a year ago or at different places. So we're actually taking a lot of my ideas, but we're putting it in the terminology so we all can understand it better and be better teachers to our kids, and maybe they can comprehend it as well.
Hey, JJ, you're up. Greg, you're on deck.
Coach, can you speak to your group of linebackers? Just what did you see out of those guys the first day, and overall, like, what do you hope to get out of those guys? That's kind of one of the areas last season that was a trouble area, and I know you guys have some depth concerns there as well.
I took this job with that being a concern, and I've kind of taken it as a challenge, not only from a defense perspective, but from that linebacker position as well, that, we don't plan on being the weak link. We plan on being the strongest link. And how you do that is you set a high standard for yourself. You demand, that you become a leader. And what I'm challenging the guys now is to be a quarterback on the field, to be an extension of the coaches and carry out the game plan on the field, the adjustments. And, that becomes a critical part of being a student of the game. And I think I have some guys. That have tremendous ability, that have good length. Trevor Harmison is a guy that comes to mind. Clarence Hicks is another guy that I think can really have a chance to be excellent players in this league. It's a couple of freshmen that we signed, and we got several other guys that I feel real good about now. But everybody kind of looks good in shorts. I think when you put the pads on, it kind of separates the boys from men. So we'll find out who will strike and who won't when that time comes.
In the secondary, Coach, you had a transfer from Oklahoma State come in, and I guess he's going to be eligible for you guys. How has Cardwell looked in the walkthroughs and, of course, today?
Javion's a guy that's very fast. He has excellent speed. He's battling some injuries that he had to overcome when he came from Oklahoma State. And we spent a lot of this offseason helping him rehab to get to the type of player we want him to be. We have these tracking monitors on our guys to help us condition them and find out how much they're running and things of that nature. And he's hit a top speed of over 23 this summer. So we feel like, this kid has exceptional speed. He just have to hone in on his technique and really work on being consistent. But he has a big ceiling for us.
Thanks, Coach.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Greg, you're up.
Coach, who do you see as the guys at the interior linebacker positions who can really step up and support in the run game and fill that role?
I mentioned a couple of guys before. The guys that stand out to me the most is Clarence Hicks, Trevor Harbison. Those two guys stand out right away, and it's more of their stature and the way their speed and their skill set. But, once again, you talk about defending the run, a lot of that is attitude and really wanting to be aggressive and be physical. So I think the guys will separate themselves once the pass come on. You'll find out who some of the guys that are not afraid to mix it up inside. And I think we have some potential. We have a lot of guys that we feel confident they can do it. It's just a matter of getting a chance to go out there and see it done.
I know Clarence Hicks came here with kind of an acumen as a strong pass rusher. Was it a big transition to move him to the middle, or what's that been like?
You know, I was surprised when I heard that he was an outside linebacker, defensive end, pass rushing guy. But I could see his athletic ability, his twitch, his speed off the ball. I could see how some of those things would be attractive. And what we're going to do in certain packages, we're going to let him become a pass rusher. But our number one focus early on will be to stop the run and get as many big guys as possible on the field that can fit the gaps and do what we want to do. When we hit running backs, we want to knock those guys backwards instead of, allowing them to run for big gains.
You mentioned Solomon Wise. I think DQ Henry as well was moving into a linebacker role. How has he handled that transition from defensive end?
DQ's been great. He's overcome a lot of adversity this summer with the pandemic and him having a child and, the other obligations that it comes with being a student athlete. And I couldn't be more proud of a guy that, he's accepted this new position. He's challenging for a starting spot. And he's a kid with a lot of ability as well. We're hoping that in this scheme that allows these guys to flourish more and be more of an impact player.
How different are the responsibilities when you go from defensive end to outside linebacker?
The biggest challenge is being able to recognize run from pass. So it's a lot of eye discipline, and you have to have the ability to cover a running back or a tight end man-to-man. So we feel like those guys obviously can run well enough. It's just a matter of can we get them enough reps where they can consistently read their keys and execute at a high level each and every play.
Do you envision having two of those like pass rushing type outside linebackers out there on a given play, or is it more likely you might have one of those guys in like a safety hybrid nickel kind of player? Like, how do you think the defense will look most often?
Obviously, if we get teams in a true passing situation, we're going to put as much speed on the field. So for me to say that Solo and DQ couldn't be on the field at the same time would be untrue. It could be where Solo, DQ, Clarence, all of these guys are up rushing the passer if that's what they do best. And, a lot of times we'll dictate that we'll stop the run on early downs. It'll allow us an opportunity to rush the passer later on. And if the team's a high passing team, then we're going to put more pass rush on the field. So a lot of times they'll dictate in the personnel that we're playing, and sometimes how we play the game will dictate. But for both of those guys to be on the field at the same time is no issue.
I'll ask you about Rashad Wisdom, too. We're going to talk to him here in a little bit. You identified him as a leader right away when we talked in the spring. How have you seen him fill that role as you move through the summer and into the fall?
Rashad Wisdom, the Wisdom family, Bryce Strong speaks volumes. I wasn't well aware of the entire situation, but I was quickly informed once I accepted the job that he was a guy that had tremendous character. He was a guy that was a tremendous worker. He played at Judson High School, who has a great tradition of having outstanding kids that work really hard, that's fundamentally sound. So he was a guy I targeted early on as one of my guys. And that guy had to be an extension of the staff. He had to have the characteristics that Coach Traylor's looking for. And, on top of the story that his family has went through, how he's handled these situations, it speaks volumes. And, I could go on and on about Rashad Wisdom and the Wisdom family, but you talk about relentless, you talk about strong, you talk about passion. He has all the intangibles that we look for in a defensive player.
How about on the field? What role do you see him taking? Like, could he be a linebacker or a hybrid type, or is he a true safety? Where does he fit in?
Right now, he's playing a hybrid position for us where it's kind of a strong safety and sometimes it's more of a linebacker. He'll be required to cover man-to-man on receivers like defensive back would, and he's going to be able to blitz a lot like a linebacker would. So he's probably the most valuable position on our defense because he has so many different job types that he'll have to do and do them well, and also be smart enough to understand it. And he's by far one of the best guys, if not the best guy on our defense.
All right. Thanks, Coach. We'll get the players in here shortly.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank y'all so much. Enjoyed it. Thank you. I thought about the last.
All right. Solomon, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Stand on that tape and give us a countdown from 3.
3, 2, 1.
Here, 1 second, Solomon. I'm to tech right here, but make sure you look good. 1 second. All right. I'm ready to rock.
Okay. Solomon Wise, raise your hand for questions, and I'll call on you.
Oh, not me.
Hey, Greg, you're first. JJ, you're on deck.
Solomon, just what was the first day of practice like for you guys? How did it feel to get back out there?
It felt good. It was smooth. You know, we did some stuff prior to just to get us in the mood of things, just to see how things would flow smoothly. And we did that today. It wasn't much.
Solomon, you're kind of in a new position, or is it a new position for you? Tell us what it's like being kind of that outside linebacker position.
All right. It's just like DN, pretty much. Stand up. My responsibilities is to drop. I'm covering. You know, I'm still rushing. I'm still setting the edge. But for the most part, pretty much like, you know, a hybrid DN position. You know, so it's nothing too different, but there's a lot of differences to it. More checks, more calls. I have to see more things. Pretty much, you know, being like the second quarterback other than the middle guys.
Solomon, good morning, man.
Good morning.
Hey, as a senior and a guy who's been an impact player for the program for several years, has it crossed your mind?
Breaking down.
About an increased role, you know, given you head coach, given, you know, these uncertain times and everything you're having to deal with. Do you kind of look at that as a senior and as an impact guy around who's been around for several years?
You froze for a minute. I didn't hear that question. You froze for a little bit.
Yeah, Hector,
apologies.
Hector, your screen froze. Can you just start over on the question from the top?
Good. My connection good now?
Choppy still. Say something.
Is it now, Kyle?
Yeah.
I can hear you. It might be better to turn off the camera.
Yeah. If you're not asking a question, maybe turn off the camera for a little bit, see if that helps the connection, the
Can
bandwidth.
you hear me now, right now, or no?
That's
You're
better.
good right now. All right.
We're good. We're good now?
Yep.
All right. Apologies, guys. Solomon, let me start again. As a senior and a guy who's been an impact player for a couple years now for the program, do you take it upon yourself? Do you look at it in a certain way, given a first-year head coach, given the pandemic and everything that's swirling around this program? Does leadership even become that much more important on your end?
Well, they're enforcing that I lead harder and smarter more. I want to say it's different to lead, but being in this position where I have no choice but to be a leader, then and with the new pandemic going on, then I don't like. It's cool and whatnot. I mean, it's nothing different, I guess, if that's the question.
Yeah, among you guys, Solomon, conversations amongst the uncertainty. I mean, we're already in August, and there's still doubt as to whether the program's going to be able to play 10 games or 12. You know,
Right.
that's how insane things are. Among conversations amongst yourselves, what's the attitude? What do you guys say to each other, given that this is a time that college football really hasn't never seen?
Well, yeah, the majority of us, we know that we're going to play. We feel like that we're going to play. So we keep that mindset like we're going to, still go at it, still play. You don't have that thought of doubt in your mind, because then you're going to move different. If I'm thinking that I'm not going to play, then I'm not going to do the extra. You know what I mean? So we all try to keep each other up. We got there's not really much conversation that we're not going to have a season. We're just pressing forward and doing what's right when the season happens. So we're getting too close here to cancel it now, I guess, in my opinion. So,
thank you.
Yes, sir.
Chase, you're up. Greg, you're on deck.
Hey, Solomon. I wanted to ask you about Coach Nix, a guy that's coached defenses at the highest level of college football, what he's brought into the mix here and how he's going to help grow you from what you've seen so
far. He's brought certainty to the defense. He's making sure everybody's accountable. He's bringing that extra confidence to each individual player, from the freshman to the oldest guy on the field. He's bringing a certain type of fire that makes us want to play for him, which is different from what's different from last year. It was different type of, coaching. But I like Coach Nix. He's a great guy. He's going to make you want to play, make you want to get better, and make you want to compete at the highest level and be the best, sharpest mind, you can be. So, yeah.
And going into your senior season, again, as a senior leader on this defense, how did you kind of help keep everybody or hold everybody accountable during these times when you're on your own quite a bit this offseason to make sure you're staying in shape and doing the right things to come in and get going here on day one?
Well, I just try to lead by example. I'm not off the field. I'm not really a verbal guy. I just kind of keep to myself, but, try to be the best I can, But I just try to lead by example, because at the end of the day, your words can only show you so much, show the team so much. It's all about what you do. So I try as my best to show action.
Excellent. Thank you, Solomon.
No problem.
All right, Greg, you're up.
Solomon, how are you and your teammates adjusting to the new scheme? What's it been like trying to pick that up?
For the D-line, I guess it's normal. It's a gap defense. It's usual. For the guys that they moved out from DN to linebacker, will linebacker, they're adjusting pretty good. We're learning, small detail, from the pass drop positions, and whatnot, and technique. But other than that, they're adjusting pretty well. And from the new guys that come in, they're coming in and rolling. So that's what we like. That's what we need.
Is there a challenge for you and the other guys making that shift to linebacker to pick up the coverage part? How different is that?
I want to say it's a big challenge. I would say it's something that you have to keep working on, after a while, because you can't forget. You can forget a little part, but you can't miss that little part. So I want to say it's a challenge, but it's just something you have to keep working on. You have to stay consistent through the whole process of, learning this position.
All right, John, you're up.
Solomon, a lot of times when a new coach comes in for seniors, they're kind of worried that a coach might be looking more to the future than the present and how they want to build a program. What has Coach Traylor done early on for you guys to kind of reassure that he's here for you guys, and that what has he done in a sense to kind of win you guys over and what his vision is long term, but also to help you guys out this season?
He just doesn't. He lets us be us, And I guess that's the best part. And I always say you can't paint a tiger black and try to make him a panther. You keep it what it is, and you appreciate, I guess that's the best thing that Coach has done. He's let us be ourselves, and, he's not asking a lot out of us, but to be accountable, and, and we are like that, and we understand him when we do that, so.
As second question, I know he brought up to us on Wednesday, I guess, something new that he's doing for this team in the sense of single-digit numbers, giving them out to the toughest guys on the team. Amongst you and your teammates, has there been discussion about, I guess, the sense of pride that there is in receiving one of those numbers this?
Yeah, you can tell there's a different type of, fire on the field when you hear guys say a single-digit number after a play, like, yeah, number 8, or yeah, 9, or yeah, 6, stuff like that. Talking to the guys on the field, talking to Jalen Haynes, he wants number 5, yeah, 5, talking like that. And, it kind of motivates us to want to be better, want to level up, want to be something else, kind of just wear that single-digit number, show that we did that, you feel me? So, yeah.
Thank you.
All right,
Yes, sir.
Greg, we got time for one more, Greg.
Solomon, how safe do you feel going through with practice now and with the season ahead in the general sense?
Safe as in the coronavirus or like physically?
Yeah, health-wise and things like that.
I feel good. With the coronavirus pandemic going on, I feel safe. The staff is doing a really great job with keeping us divided. Times we have lunch, we have treatment. So it's keeping us all spread out. It's keeping us not around each other, but at practice, but not really, they're doing a good job. I feel safe. I just hope it stays like this through the remainder of the year and nothing crazy going on with the NCAA. So, yeah.
We've seen some players around the country who have chosen to sit out or opt out of the year. Did you give any thought to that personally?
No, not at all. I'm playing. I'll play in the worst condition. I like playing. I love it. But, yeah, I heard about the sit-out. A bunch of guys been talking. I'm actually in a group chat, the National College Union group chat, but I wasn't going to participate in that. I didn't want to influence my team to try to sit out because that's just that big school talk, because they can do certain things, like, but, yeah, we're going to keep the ball rolling over here, so, yeah.
Cool. Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Thanks. Just stand by. We'll get Rashad Wisdom in there in a second.
All right. You're good. Appreciate it. So, you'll see the question. You'll see, just like a Zoom video where you see yourself. Oh, yeah. So, all right. Give it a second to reposition the camera.
Hey, Rashad, this is Keith. Give me 1 second. I'm going to kind of mess with the shot, make sure your shot looks good. So 1 second.
Okay.
I'm good.
All right. Rashad, go ahead and give me a countdown there. 3, 2, 1. Just to make sure.
3, 2, 1.
All right. Raise your hands for questions. We'll go JJ first, and then Greg, you're on deck.
Hey, Rashad, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad. Thanks for joining us today. What was it like that first day of practice today?
I think it went pretty good for the first day, especially without us having spring ball whatsoever. Guys were flying around, the energy was there. So I think it was definitely a productive first day for sure.
Coach Nix says you're playing like a hybrid position. What's that like for you? How different is that than what you played before last year?
It's pretty similar to what I played before, just from having to cover guys man-to-man or, zoning up in certain windows or being in the flats to blitzing off the edge and having to go get the quarterback. It's pretty similar to what I did last year. So it's not too new for me, but, there's definitely things that, have been tweaked to fit the new defense that we're playing and, and my role. But overall, my role is pretty much the same compared to last year.
You and your family have been through a lot the last few weeks, over the last year, really. What's it like to been able to get back on the football field, and what were the emotions like this morning?
It's definitely, it feels really good to be back on the field. Being on the field is like a safe haven for me, just being out there just with all the guys just takes my mind off of, a lot of things. And definitely, it feels good to be back on the field and just be back out there with my team.
Thanks, Rashad.
No problem. Thank you.
All right, Greg, you're up next, and Travis, you're on deck.
Rashad, how have you and your teammates been adjusting to the new defensive scheme? What's been the biggest challenges, if anything?
I feel like we've adjusted pretty good to the new scheme. The coaches have done a great job with making sure that we know the information and, that we know where we're supposed to be and lining up and just things like that. So I think we've done a pretty good job in, making sure we have the scheme down, especially with, like I said before, not having a spring ball.
What are the biggest differences compared to how you guys were used to playing last year?
I would say that it's more of like a variety of coverages. I feel like last year we mainly stuck to really like 2 different coverages, but now we're all over. I feel like we're more diverse in that area for sure now.
All right, Travis, you're up. Hector, you're on deck.
Hey, Rashad. Do you have any concerns about playing college football this year?
No, not really. Just as far as what everything that's going on so far, I feel like our staff and, everybody's done a great job of making sure that we're taking well care of. So, I mean, all my trust is in them. The whole team's trust is in them. And, we feel pretty good with what's going on. So we're ready to go.
What are some of the big differences in just kind of a daily practice that, you guys have to kind of go through to stay safe?
Just really just the whole social distancing thing. Like, of course we got to practice the best that we can. And, of course, like try to play and football and stuff. But the biggest thing for us is trying to, remain 6 feet apart and make sure we're not too close to each other and just things like that. Like, just take care of ourselves the best we can and take care of the team.
All right, Hector, you're up.
Rashad, good morning, man.
Good morning. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you. Thank you. So when we were talking to Coach Nix a little while ago, he said that when he came in, he looked at you and he thought he's going to be one of my guys, and he not only cited Judson and your pedigree and your family, but he cited you too and what he'd heard about you. I don't know if that's the first time you're hearing that or if he maybe had a conversation with you about being one of his guys, but to know that the defensive coordinator coming in points you out and says, hey man, I'm going to lean on you a lot. What's that like?
When Coach Nix first got hired, me and him had a conversation and, I pretty much just told him like, you can count on me to do whatever you need done. Just being in that leadership role is definitely something I'm willing to take on. And, I have full trust in Coach Nix and he has full trust in me. So I've really, appreciate Coach Nix and everything he's done so far. And, the whole defense has, our trust in him.
Thank you.
Okay, Greg, you're up.
Rashad, along those lines, what does it mean to you to be a leader? How do you enact that within your teammates, or how do you show that day to day?
Being a leader on this defense is definitely big for me, especially being one of the younger guys and being a sophomore. I just try to go out there and lead by example, make sure all the guys are, the energy is there, that we're flying around, make sure we're doing what we're supposed to do, and just, things like being on time to meetings and stuff like that. I always try to stay on top of everybody and, just make sure everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing and being where they're supposed to be when they're supposed to be.
You mentioned sort of the dynamic of being a sophomore and being in that role. How do your teammates respond to you, being a younger player, but taking that kind of important spot on the team and leading the way in a lot of senses?
I feel though they take it pretty good. I don't feel as though I come across, bad or, one of those guys that are just, just play ball and just don't care about anybody else. I'm pretty big on spreading love and, being about everybody on the team, not just myself. I try to put people before myself, and I feel like it's well taken among everybody.
How do you look back on your freshman season, the way you played on the field?
I feel as though it was a good first, intro into college football for sure. I'm definitely not where I feel like I should be at this point, but there's just a long road ahead, and I'm just keep my head down and keep working and keep doing what I'm doing, and just do what I know I can do.
What are some of those things you're working on or areas you want to improve?
One of my areas I'm trying to improve for sure is tackling for sure. That's one of the biggest things on defense, being able to tackle. And if you're not a for sure tackler, then why are you on the field? So one of those, I feel like tackling is for sure something I can improve in. Two is just zoning up and being in the areas I'm supposed to be in at the when I'm supposed to be there, and just making more plays on the ball. I feel like I need to make more plays on the ball and just create more turnovers for the defense, and just give the ball back to the offense, let them do what they do.
Do you set specific goals, whether it's stats or accolades, or how do you sort of define what success is for you?
I do. I write down my goals. I have yet to do that yet. I'm kind of behind on that, but I definitely need to get on it. But yes, I do write down my goals for like games, seasons, and just what I'm trying to accomplish, whether it may be like the off season or if we're in season. So, but I definitely need to get on that and get my goals down. But I for sure do write them down and try to aim higher than what I think I may be able to get to, just so I have an aiming point that I aspire to get to.
All right, JJ, you're up.
Rashad, what does it mean to be Bryce Strong? Obviously, the loss of your brother was terrible, and his fight kind of captivated everybody in the city. What does it mean? Can you try and describe into words what that means?
Being Bryce Strong is just going when you don't feel like you can anymore. We definitely have those days where like we roll out of bed and we're just like, dang, like I don't want to get up. Like I want to stay in bed, or I don't feel like doing this. I don't feel like doing that. But being Bryce Strong is, pushing past that point and just going to do it even if you feel like you can't, because Bryce's battle went for a long time, and I seen him at points where he felt like he just couldn't go anymore, but he just kept pushing, he kept going, and that's pretty much what Bryce Strong is, just going past that point where you feel like you can't go anymore.
What do you feel like the legacy he left behind is?
It's definitely something that I won't be able to match for sure. Bryce definitely left a big impact on the whole community. For sure, just something I can't match for sure. I can't explain it, but I don't know.
All right, thanks.
All right, Chase, you're up.
Hey, Rashad, how you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Hey, I wanted to ask you, you and Sincere are such proud Judson Rockets. Xavier Spencer walking through the doors this year. How excited were you to see him when he walked in for strength and conditioning? And now how are you guys kind of taking him under your wing, so to speak, as he enters?
We was really excited. From day one, I told Xavier that, we're from Judson. They look at us differently, and they're going to, their eyes are always going to be on you. So you got to watch how you doing on and off the field. And he kind of seen that the other day when they had got on him and they said, like, you're from Judson, like, you need to pick it up. And I told him, like, they have their eye on you for sure, because where we're from. So he's definitely seen it so far, but he's done a great job with adapting and coming into, stepping in as a freshman and just taking, understanding the schemes and being on time and stuff, and, just in weights and stuff. So he's done a great job so far.
Yeah, mentioning that Judson perception, what would you kind of describe the reputation of guys that come from Judson into this program?
They definitely have a lot to come in with when they come in. Just being from Judson, there's a lot of tradition and stuff behind us with just our tradition of winning and being hard workers and stuff like that. So just things like that is just what comes with it when you come from Judson, for sure.
There's a different expectation for you guys.
Yes, sir. Most definitely.
Excellent. Thank you, Rashad.
No problem. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Rashad.
No problem. Thank y'all.
Thanks, Rashad. Have a good one.
Thank you.